Hey guys, welcome back to the iLights podcast. I'm really stoked for today's episode. It's a conversation with one of my good friends, Taylor Conroy. I literally just bumped into him at a coffee shop and started talking about life right around when I first moved to Hawaii. And little did I know that I had bumped into one of the most legendary people on this island. He is, where do I even start? He's a serial entrepreneur. He started a ton of different companies, nonprofits. He's built hundreds of schools, dozens of libraries, and done a ton of amazing humanitarian work all over the world, from which he launched an amazing speaking career that brought him to TEDx stages. And now he has a business called Leader that helps people get TED Talks all around the world. As much as I could go on forever about his personal and business accomplishments, I'll also just say that he's an amazing friend, one of the best listeners that I've encountered in a long time, and has been someone who's helped me process a lot of things that I haven't been able to process until he asked me about it. So he really is deep waters. He has a beautiful mind for money and why it is valuable, why we should not be ashamed of making it and wanting more of it. And he's just played a really big role in my life as far as helping me understand how to think about business and how to think about money in general. I currently am one of his social media guys, so I help him film a lot of his short form and long form content that ends up on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. So if you want to check out some of that content, just go look up Taylor A. Conroy on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. I also recently just traveled to Mexico with him to build a couple houses. That was after this whole recording happened. So a lot has happened since this, and our friendship has just continued to grow stronger. Huge fan of this guy. This intro doesn't need to be any longer. I'm excited about this conversation, and I hope you guys enjoy it. When did you go from being plain old Taylor to Taylor Money and people starting to associate you with the concept of money? Was that something you made happen, or did that just come to you?
It all started back when I was even younger than you. Okay?
For real?
I was, and you're young.
Barely.
Are you 18 yet?
No, I turn 18 next week.
You look great. Okay, good. So flashback 2005, I had gotten my real estate license, and I had a baby face, and I looked like I was like 14. Okay, and I was 23 or 24. I looked really young, could not grow any facial hair or anything like that, and was working as a professional firefighter, and I picked up real estate on the days off, on my days off, because I wanted to make more money.
Yep.
And I was intimidated by selling big properties like ranches and mansions and even just big houses. I was like, it just felt like too much for me to be dealing with. There was just a lot of stuff to take into account. And I really liked condos. I liked these like $200,000 condos is what I liked to sell, because they're predictable, manageable, just very small, and I could price them quickly. I also thought it could be a bit more scalable to get into condos. Anyways, where I'm getting at with this is I put an ad in the paper, and my last name's Conroy, and not money, as that I'm glad that you think my last name is money, but or some people do, but I put an ad in the paper that said Conroy's Condos.
Okay.
Right, because it's
alliteration.
First three letters are the same both. Yeah, good alliteration, and Conroy's Condos. And I looked at the ad and I was like, I like that. And so I did a mail out one time to this building. The building's called the Mosaic. Really interesting kind of artistic building. A bunch of little artist lofts in this building in downtown Victoria, British Columbia, where I'm from. And I put this paper out and I called myself Condo Conroy at the bottom of it. Right, just like sign off was like Condo Conroy. And it was basically like let me see if I've got a buyer for your condo, one of those mail outs kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was in the building one day because I had a listing in there. And again, I'm a brand new realtor. I don't even think I was doing listings by myself yet. I had someone else helping me because I didn't know how to do anything. And this woman pokes her head out of her studio. She goes, "Hey, are you Condo Conroy?" And I said, "Yep, yes I am." And she goes, "Oh, cool. Can you come and like give me a price on my condo?" And it hit me. I was like, wait a second. I sent one mail out and people started calling me Condo Conroy.
Yep.
I was like, this is catchy. And I want them to, when they think of condos, I want them to think of me.
Yep.
I want to be the guy for condos. So I started calling myself Condo Conroy. That stuck. For the next 6 years, I was Condo Conroy. I legit, no word of a lie, Jonathan, have friends that still call me Condo till today as my first name. There's a bunch of people that
Just
thought
Condo.
people would ask me that. They just, hey, Condo. That was all over Victoria. What's up, Condo? Everyone would just say, hey, Condo.
Yeah.
And so think of the power of that for a hot second. There's a lesson is that think of the power of that for a hot second. The thing you fucking sell, people look at you and they call you that.
Yep.
Like that is the perfect neural pathway that I wanted to form in people's minds of Taylor equals condos. So that when they think of selling their condo or whatever, they think this Taylor. We're going to call Condo Conroy, right?
Yeah.
And it worked. And I was the number one condo seller in the city. Absolutely crushed it. Did my $500,000 when I was 24. In 2,500 grand at commissions. And it was because I branded myself the thing that I wanted people to talk about or link to me, to my name.
Sure.
Anyways, so getting into TikTok a couple years ago, I was like, okay, well, what do I want people to think about? Mm-hmm. Right. My next business was the TEDx stuff. Dude, obviously I called myself TEDx Taylor. Right. I was TEDx Taylor for years. People are just like, oh yeah. And they were like, people are like, oh, TEDx Taylor. You want to do a TEDx talk, Taylor? And so it was this perfect link. The shorter the neural pathway between you and what you do, the better.
Yep.
In marketing, in my mind, right? People are out there being like, I'm going to brand this company called Calawire Enterprises, and then people are going to know it's me, and then eventually they're going to know that I do social media. It's like way too long.
For sure.
No, it should just be like Johnny Social. Or whatever it is, right? Like something succinct. So
to be honest,
stop rambling and say
great
I branded
feedback.
myself Taylor Money.
I a long time ago, I named my like freelance stuff in my business iLights Creative, which is actually from a piece of scripture in the New Testament where Jesus talks about how like the eye is the lamp to the body, and like when the eye is full of darkness, the entire body is full of darkness, but when the eye is full of light, yada yada. I've always thought it was beautiful and something. There's this deep poetic meaning to me in like why I called it that. But to your point, it's like I don't think anybody sees like iLights and they're like, oh yeah, for sure, this guy like can help me tell my story and like grow on social media.
No,
not at all.
No, it could be a plumbing company. That could be a plumbing company.
100%. Yeah, so that's good feedback.
Yeah.
Definitely a place to workshop.
It'd be like brown eye lights.
Yeah.
Creative. Okay, we're going off topic, but I named myself Taylor Money.
I was thinking it's probably a good thing you didn't sell condoms or something like that, because that would have been catchy too. But then you would have people telling you calling you condom.
Now,
condom Conroy.
That's not actually not a word that I want to be synonymous with me.
Yeah.
Let's decrease the pleasure. Let's who's the guy who makes things less fun? Oh yeah, Taylor, the condom guy.
No, for sure. Yeah, not a huge brand move. Definitely not. I'm honestly impressed that you made the leap from alliteration to Taylor Money, like no alliteration, no same consonant. Yeah, I'm wondering if that like took a little bit of like risk on your part, or if you were just like, fuck it, money, dude, doesn't need to rhyme.
I mean, speaking of leaps, I'm impressed that you went from a leap from talking about Jesus to condoms within
dude,
7 seconds.
I've done more in 7 seconds than that, man.
Yeah. I don't know where this is going, but I like it. So no. It's just clear. It's like Taylor Money. I just want, see the name. This is the guy who talks about money. That's it. And the time when it works. A lot of people come up with a name or a slogan or something like that, and they think it looks good. So therefore they think it's accomplishing what it's supposed to accomplish. It's not the case, right? Just because you look at your business card or your website, and you're like, oh, that's a sweet logo. It doesn't matter if it's not actually doing what it's supposed to do. So the when you know that it is doing what it's supposed to do is when you go. I was in I think I was flying through Denver at one point. I was getting some Mexican food or something, and this young woman, she's like, excuse me, are you Taylor Money? And I was like, yes, I am. I'm Taylor Money. That's who I am. She's like, oh my God, I watch all your videos. I really like this one, blah, blah, blah. And so that's when you know it's working, is when people just associate you with that name without you having to ram it down their throats. Yeah. Right. Like, and the faster, I think for you, if anyone like who's listening to this, there does need, and you think, oh, Taylor Money, it sounds a bit cheesy. Yes, by design. Condo Conroy also sounds incredibly cheesy. Yeah. Cheesy, it's cheesy for a reason. It's sticky. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the whole point, it's like, and there's a really good book called Made to Stick, which I read by Chip and Dan Heath, really good book on marketing. Yeah. And if you can think through that with your mind of like, okay, what's just going to stick the fastest? Mm-hmm. That's who's going to win. Yep. That's who you need to be top in any industry, real estate, TikTok, whatever. Who's top of mind? Yep. That's who's going to win. Yep. Yeah, that's great.
I am curious. You had mentioned like so that shift from Conroy, Conroy, Condo Conroy to Taylor Money was kind of bookmarked by the beginning of your journey into TikTok, which came after you having like this whole career with TED Talk and speaking publicly, and also your philanthropy stuff. But I'd love to know more about like your first journey into social media and sort of where you got the idea that that would be important, and what was your sort of strategy going into it? Because obviously it looks like you kind of went into it like a bat out of hell, and you started doing 3 videos a day basically every day until you blew up. You basically just forced TikTok to blow you up. So yeah, I would love to know what that was like to like take a bet on TikTok like that, and then also what you attribute to that becoming like a really significant driver for your business.
Yeah, man, I'm obsessed with TikTok, and anyone listening to this, like, oh, TikTok's dance videos and stuff like that. First of all, you are old and out of date, and you need to get your shit together, because the direction of where TikTok was, people still talk about TikTok where it was. It used to be a lip syncing dance video platform. That's what it was, right? That was the origins of it. And where it is now is, I think, the most used search engine on the planet. I think it's beating Google. I don't quote me on that, but it's at top 1 or 2, right? Yep. And the age demographics that are getting on TikTok are way different than the laggards think, right? They think, oh, there's no 50-year-olds on TikTok. Oh yeah, there's tons. 60-year-olds, all the people that are on there. Yeah. But what's most exciting to me is where it's going. TikTok, if you really go into it, and TikTok is changing the way people buy. It's now partnered with Amazon. It looked like they were going to try to take them on at one point, but it's now partnered with Amazon. And the way people buy is changing dramatically. And if you're not selling on TikTok now, you're going to be selling in the future. So you may as well just be ahead of the curve. Also, if you go down a rabbit hole on like the TikTok lives, for example, what other platform can you go on and watch an eagle fly between these mountains in the Pacific Northwest with a camera on its back, showing you everything that's going on in this eagle's life, or into a jail cell in El Salvador, where you can fit, and this is legit. This is all available to watch at any time. Or this guy who I saw him the other day. He like has one of those radios that tunes into cops frequencies, and if there's an accident, he goes and like TikToks. It's kind of weird, but
wait, that's
you know
wild.
What I mean? Like, people doing the most is bananas, and also people like and what about if like Sammy, our friend Sammy? I think she's here.
Yeah.
If she wanted to like really double down on her music, she could just be putting on a concert every night for 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people digitally.
Yep.
That doesn't exist on any other platform.
Yep.
Right. Instagram scratches the surface, but where TikTok's going is what I'm the most excited about. And the reason I went 3 videos a day for 30 days is because the thing that I have in spades above and beyond, I'd say the anyone who's unsuccessful, is just stupid amounts of follow through.
Yeah.
Right. The smartest people in the world are usually the most perfectionist, and because they got a degree on the wall, they want to look good. They probably got a degree because they wanted to look good or prove it to their mom and dad that they're smart or whatever. And so they take those traumas or those trauma responses, they bring that onto social media, and then they won't post anything unless it looks perfect.
Right.
Right. And therefore they go nowhere.
Yeah.
Where I'm totally happy to bash my head against every wall in the room to try to find the door.
Yeah.
And I'm totally fine to do that on TikTok, because the thing that I have, my superpower is hard work and follow through. Yeah. And with that, you can crush it on social media. Yeah. With that alone, you can crush it on social media.
Well, it's kind of funny to talk about that.
I mean, you're the social media guru.
I'm trying to be.
You're social Johnny.
Yeah.
What does social Johnny say we should do?
Yeah. Well, what you said, I think, is head like bashing? The biggest thing, the banging your head against every wall until you find a door. That's like such a good way to put it. I've heard social media described as like this free lottery. It's like you don't have to pay. You can literally play as many times as you want, and it's free every time. And basically, eventually, you're going to win. Yeah. You just need to put in the volume. And I think a lot of people obsess so much over wanting quality that they're never able to put in the quantity that is required to get to quality.
Yeah, you're right.
Right. And so it's like my like one motto that I have that's been really helpful for my life, and that I try to share with other people, is I encourage people to make bad art. Be creative and make something ugly that they don't like. Because people, when they think about creativity, they put, like you said, this trauma response of needing to be perfect, needing to have something that other people look at and go, wow, you're amazing. And that like holds people back from ever trying. It's like it's very cliche, but it's like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and that literally is social media. And for me, I was the same. Like I was really perfectionist and was like a photographer that I would go shoot 1,000 pictures and only share the one that I thought was like the best picture. And that was my strategy for a long time on Instagram. And it was great because my Instagram looked cool, but like no one ever saw anything. And people heard from me once a month. And then I did the same thing. I did a 30-day challenge. And one of the videos that I did that was a part of that was just like the stupidest video ever of me and my friends hanging out on the beach, threw some David Attenborough audio over it narrating like sea turtle migrations, and it got 60 million views, and all of a sudden I had 25,000 followers.
No way.
Which is so funny. Like there were a lot of lessons to me in that, and one of them was like I tried the least hard on that one, and it was the most just from me being a goofball, and like it was just a reflection of my humor. And I think because it tapped into something that was like pretty specific to me, it universally hit a nerve for people. And people talk about this idea of the most personal thing you have to share is the most universal thing that's going to impact people. There was a lot of learnings there, but definitely volume. I just encourage people to go post a bunch of stuff you're not proud of on social media. Go make a bunch of things that you hate, and you'll just start to realize that it's not that bad. And like, you'll start to get crap from people on social media, and you'll start to realize that doesn't own you either. And you can literally just keep going, and no one, at the end of the day, it's like you can either grow and win on there and take all the shit that you're going to get, because it's like you're on there all the time and you get so much shit. And then you just turn the shit that people give to you into like awesome content. Like I just saw a video the other day where someone was like kind of roasting you for like shaming poor people or whatever. And you just had this great response to it. And I don't know. You can judo move that energy.
Yeah, that woman got me some good views. She was exactly. Like, you shouldn't shame poor people. But I was like, did you even watch the video? Obviously not, because it's not even close to what I'm doing. Because the thing is, there's a deeper lesson in it. Is like, call it poor. Poor people's a bad term. People that have not figured out money yet the main reason they haven't figured out money is because they think money's finite. They think energy is finite. Johnny, the money supply since we started this podcast has increased dramatically. Money is by design. The system that we have is infinite. It is infinite. Like if you give me $1,000, if you went to Chase Bank right now, right? So let's say I gave you $1,000. You're like, you go to Chase Bank, you deposit that $1,000. Johnny, how much money do you think Chase can now loan out to other people because you deposited $1,000? How much money can they loan out?
Great question. I would have no idea how to answer that.
$9,000. It's called the fractional reserve. It's a fractional reserve banking system, meaning they only have to have a fraction in reserve of what they're loaning out.
Yep.
So if you picture this for a second, you put $1,000 into Chase. Chase says, "Oh, we got $1,000 more now. We can now loan out $9,000 that didn't exist before."
Right.
Does not exist. It's now a digital number on a spreadsheet somewhere or in a computer. And then let's say someone takes out they say, okay, someone comes into Chase and they're like, I'll take a loan for $9,000, please. They go, perfect. We can loan $9,000 off of Johnny's money. So they give this guy a loan for $9,000. He walks over to US Bank and he deposits $9,000. How much do you think US Bank can now loan out that they just have a new deposit of $9,000?
I'm going to guess close to $100,000.
Close to $100,000, close to $90,000.
Yeah.
Now, if someone else does it, so Jonathan, from $1,000, there's now been over $100,000 in loanable money created.
Yeah.
Meaning, money doesn't fucking exist. It does not exist. It's not a thing. I'm actually being 100% honest with you. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
The only reason it exists is because we agree that it exists as a society.
Yep.
And when a society stops agreeing that it exists and that it has value, then it goes Zimbabwe on you, and you got to pay $2 billion. You got to pay $2 billion for a slice of bread.
Yeah,
that's how it works. Zimbabwe itself, at one point, their practice to reduce the expansion of their currency. This is no joke, Johnny. They would just take a zero off the end of $1 million. Now it's 100,000. They would just take a zero off the end, like.
Yeah.
Money, as soon as we can wrap our head around that, money doesn't exist. What exists is tangible assets like land, gold, silver, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
That exist. when we can create value in exchange for this thing that doesn't exist, the currency, and put it into tangible assets, ideally tangible assets that's going to appreciate in value, that's going to hold its value, appreciate in value, and kick off some more cash flow of stuff that doesn't exist, and then take that and put it into tangible assets.
Yep.
I'm not trying to get into like a investing lesson here, but the key here is that money doesn't exist, and when we realize that, it takes the edge off.
Yep.
It takes the power that money has off of our brains, and we can go, oh yeah, it's a big game. And when we're playing a game, it's a lot easier to win than this thing that we have to make or else, and it's finite. There's only so much to go around, which is probably what most of people's parents taught them.
Right. Yeah. You mentioned earlier that like your superpower is this insane drive to just figure it out and to get shit done. Like you just don't stop until something works. There's two things I'm curious about with that. A, I'm wondering like, where did that come from with you? There's not a lot of people like that in the world. And I'm curious, like, if you could name like a part of your life where like, you're like that, I think that originated from there. And then the other part of that I'm curious about with that drive that you have is I think a lot of other people have that same drive, but don't understand how money works, and so they put that drive towards like some sort of salary career or they become Sisyphus trying to push the boulder up the hill and grind their lives, but don't ever see this like disproportionate leverage of that time in return. So I'm curious, like where you discovered, how you figured out how to disproportionately get rewarded basically for this insane effort that you put in, and then also where it came from in the first place. That's probably a lot to talk about, so I'll just back off and let you go.
Yeah. Well, I think anyone, the second part first would be like anyone who does have that incredible energy and they're not making a bunch of money, it has no reflection of if they're smart or not. It just reflects that they've got the wrong business model attached to their energy. Right? They've got the wrong financial model attached. They've got a model they've got a model of exchanging time for money attached to their energy, which is a model that is going to burn people out, and it just doesn't scale. It's never going to end up in someone making a meaningful amount of money, dollars per hour. Never, ever, ever. Right? Unless you're like, let's say you're an $800 an hour lawyer in New York. Great. You can make $800 an hour. What if you break, or, you need to get your spleen removed? Boom. All your money just stops being made because you can't put in the hours. Right? So it's just that they're attaching the wrong model to it. Not that they're dumb or anything like that. Quite the contrary. People that have a lot of energy are the ones that do the best in life if they attach the right model. So if someone's got a whole bunch of amazing energy, if they attach the right model to it, which would be figuring out what is something of value that I can create, or what's an outcome that I can get someone in their life, right? For example, let's say, Jonathan, the outcome you wanted is to build your business into a $30,000 a month business, okay? Or 50 grand a month, whatever it is that you wanted to make. If I, being someone who's been in business for a decent amount of time, I know the pathway to get you from $0 a month or 10 grand a month, whatever you're at, to $30,000 a month. I know the pathway. It's very clear. There's leads, sales, and offer. Here's how you price an offer. Here's how you do sales. Here's how you generate leads. For me, it's very simple. Yeah. So if I can get you the result of you making 30 grand a month, if I can get you that result within 30 days, you're going to be ecstatically happy, and you'd be more than willing to pay me $10,000 if I'm going to help you get to 30 grand a month. Yep. Right? So if I obsess over the outcome that you want, rather than obsessing over how can I make the most money, or how can I make the most money per hour, those are the wrong questions. The right question is, how can I get someone a result that they want in their life or business as fast as humanly possible, and then charge a good amount for it. Yep. And so that's what we do. Like one of the programs we do. We charge 10 grand. We help people get to 30 grand a month. We often help them get to 30 grand a month in their first month. Yep. And so they look back and they go, the $10,000 I gave you in a 45-minute phone call, right, to help me with my business, and they put it on their credit card, whatever, was the best $10,000 they ever spent, and they want it to happen shorter. Whereas people that attach the wrong business model or the wrong, financial model of dollars per hour, they want things to last longer. They have a vested interest in things lasting longer, which is not good for either party. That's the former part, or the latter part. So the former, where does the drive come from? I think it's like, to be honest with you, I'm not to toot my own horn. I'm really good at self-analysis and getting crystal clear on what I'm terrible at. Like really, really, really honest with myself. Yeah. I'm really good at that. I'm mediocre at that. I'm shit at that. really, really honest.
Interesting.
And most people seem to be weirdly optimistic, to be honest with you. People seem to be like, no, I'm pretty good at surfing. And you go, that's subjective, right? You go, tell me more about being good at surfing. Well, I surfed in Maui twice and I could stand up on the whitewash. You're like, great. That's not good at surfing. That means you took a fucking lesson, right? Right. And like my mom, no offense, my mom, she's 70, but she's like getting 2 new knees. She could stand up in the whitewash, right? So and people are like that with life. You honestly, you ask them about money. How are you with money? I'm pretty good at it. Yep. Okay. How much do you make? $5,000 a month. Okay, what do you do for it? I make $30 an hour and I just don't spend any money at Starbucks. That's not good at money.
Yeah.
John.
Yeah.
That's not good at money. Objectively, it's not good at money because if you just look at the average amount someone makes, you know what I mean? Like it's just not, everyone's got their subjective viewpoint. I like to have a really objective viewpoint and go, okay, how much money did I make the last month or like last 12 months, every single month? Okay, that's how much I made. Got it. And how is that compared to call it the national average or what other people in my industry are doing?
Yep.
And go, oh, I'm shit at money. Got it. And because I'm shit at money and I'm okay saying that to myself or I was okay. So I'm not shit at money anymore. I was totally okay saying with that to myself. And what that catalyzes is that radical honesty is like, oh, not good at money. Need to learn about money. That's how I hired my first money coach. Cause I was like 20 grand in debt. I was 22 years old. I was a firefighter. I had no idea how I'd pay $20,000 back. Yeah. Making, $2,200 a month and spending most of it on whatever you spend it as a firefighter, beer and stuff. And I'm like, okay, obviously I know nothing about money. I need someone to teach me. So I hired a coach. Yeah. She taught me about money. I didn't know enough yet. I went to seminars. I read books. I did all those things all from the place of just being open with myself that I didn't know anything about money. And people will listen to this podcast and in their mind, they're like, I'm pretty good at money. No, you're not. If you're not, honestly, if you're not making $30,000 a month, then you don't know money. I'm just being open. Sure. The ability to make $30,000 a month, the path to making $30,000 a month is so insanely simple. So simple. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's so insanely simple that anyone making less than $30,000 a month, you don't know money.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Which is hard. You know what I mean? But everyone wants to say that they do because they don't spend money on a Frappuccino. Right. That's not knowing money. That's, how to save, but that's only one, that's like the defense of money. You need to know the offense as well.
Right. So you'd say it's in some ways just about being able to admit when you suck at stuff and then being willing to be honest about that and then do something about it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And it's in every area, right? I remember being like, wow, I definitely don't have a girlfriend. And, or even now, I have a coach that I'm talking to right after this. We talk about relationships pretty much the majority of the time.
Feel like a life coach?
Because I did a self-analysis. Yeah, life coach.
Cool.
Life, business, life, all the things.
Cool.
I did this self-analysis. I was like, okay, 42 years old, longest relationship, 2.5 years. After that, 2 years. Objectively, I don't know how to do long-term relationships. Objectively. That's, do you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
But people will say, I'm pretty good. I just haven't met the right person. Nope. It's you. I just haven't. I haven't. But let's have the radical honesty coffee hour. Yeah. If you don't know how to make money, it's not because you had the wrong position. It's fucking you. Right. It's if you don't know how to get into a good relationship, it's you. It's not the people. Yeah. Even if you did pick some sort of, everyone likes to label their ex like a narcissist or whatever these buzzwords are now.
That's so true.
You know what I mean? I said narcissist. That's why it didn't work out. What an amazing way to put yourself in the victim chair. Yeah. It was all them. I can't believe it. I never could have seen it coming. Yep. But hopefully the next one's better because hopefully I pick someone who's not all the shit that you were attracted to that picked the person in the first place. Yep. You know what I mean? It's 1,000,000,000% on you. Every fucking thing in your life. Yeah. And so when you get clear on that, then you can go, oh, okay, well then I can make it better too. Yep. Otherwise it's totally unempowering. Yeah. Sorry, I feel like I'm just preaching.
No, dude, the soapbox suits you.
Just get on it. What is that supposed to mean? I don't even care.
No,
How about this, John? Tell me this.
It's good stuff, and I'm grateful.
What is it that drives you, Johnny? What is it that gets you up in the morning? Because I want to know from the lens of, if you guys don't know Jonathan, that you maybe listen to because he's a handsome stud and he's very articulate with his words and talks about Sisyphus in the middle of a fucking podcast. But,
not syphilis.
If you don't know Jonathan, he shows. Do you want to talk? What's actually on your mind right now? You brought up condoms and syphilis. If you wanted to, what is it you want to? You got to do some venting. But anyways, so if you don't know Jonathan, he shows up. I get to work with him. He films all my social media, and comes up with amazing ideas for long form content. He's incredibly articulate, very talented, very charismatic. Always has a coffee in his hand. He's guaranteed this. He's had 3 this morning already, and cracked out. But he always has a smile on his face. He's always very positive, and he brings an amazing light to everybody around him. I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. You do,
Thanks,
smiling. You contribute a lot of value to people's lives.
I appreciate that.
And so my question to you is, you have the drive, but you're not. It doesn't look like you're grinding. It looks like you're actually having fun. How do you do that?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that question. You actually asked me that question in some capacity the other day. You kind of framed it in 2 ways. You're like, people are either driven by mission and purpose, or they're driven by the desire to love and be loved. And you were like, one of them is actually super masculine, one of them's really feminine, and I didn't know which one was which, so I just told you honestly what I feel motivates me, and that is the desire to love and be loved, which apparently is not hyper feminine, but is in some way the feminine side of that. And I would say that actually is true of like, if I think about it, it actually is pretty true of me. I'm pretty different from you well, I actually don't want to say I'm different from you, because I don't necessarily know if I know myself well enough to know how I'm different from you. But like, just seeing throughout your life all these different stages of this, like, fuck it, I'm going to figure it out. And like, even if it takes me a million tries and I have to put in all these hours, like, I just know that if I get to the other side of this problem that needs to be solved, there's an exponential gain to be had. Like, talking to Jamie, this guy that we're working with, who does deep social and who is an amazing, like, absolute wizard at social media. I was on a call with him the other day, and he was just sharing how he cranks out 800 videos a month. And the last few years of his life, he's made a crap ton of money, but I was like, do you do much outside of this? He's like, to be honest, no. Like, a lot of times I'm working 10, 12-hour days. And then, I go to sleep, go to the gym, whatever, and start it all over again. And I could be wrong about this from like the deepest part of me, but it might take some more self-reflection. But like, in the past, what I've said to myself and others is, if I could figure out a way for like money to not really be a part of the picture, but I just get like infinite amounts of time with people that I love and care about, and just get to like surf, have fun, and have like really meaningful conversations. Like, not just like fun time, but like, I really love getting to the heart of things, having really meaningful conversations, seeing people's lives change for the better. That's a lot of like my Christian DNA, is like, I just love seeing hard things redeemed in people's lives. Like, if I could figure out how to make that a sustainable thing for me and not worry about money, I don't think I would really grind too hard. But right now, what I can see is like, I have this mountain to climb of, I need to figure out how to make a profitable agency. And if I can figure out how to do that, put systems in place, eventually like grind myself out of it in some ways, I think it's possible to create that type of lifestyle, which in a lot of ways, I think you emulate. It's like, you work really hard and you have grinded really hard, but also you've built in a way where you now have like enough margin in your life that you get to enjoy all kinds of stuff. Like, you just had this big birthday party where you like got to invite all your friends and like paid for a lot of them to come and stay with you in, I think, Mexico or something like that. And it's like, that's a dream of mine. And I think I can see that being a totally abundant in money and having a lot of money would allow you to buy a lot of your time back, and just not need to be like, again, trading your hours for money. Once you figure out those systems, then you get to have that abundance in money. So anyway, yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's almost like I see the carrot dangling in front of me is like time with people that I love. And so I think I'm willing to grind and work really hard and be creative and do all these things because I want to do my best to create systems that get me that carrot in a sense.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, it makes total sense. And it was interesting when you're talking, you're saying the words, I think words are really important, especially around money, love, everything in our lives. And as you're a word guru. You said, I need to build a profitable agency. Is that your goal, to build a profitable agency?
Right now, yeah. But
because if you made a cent more than you spent, I do. If you made 1 penny more than you spent, you technically have a profitable agency. Is that enough?
Yeah, that's a good question. Probably not.
Probably not. And this, I'd say, the abundance, I feel like, comes from building abundance into the goals,
Yep.
right? Like if there's a feeling, let's say there's a feeling that you want to have. I was doing this exercise with a woman that works for me yesterday.
Yeah.
And her name's Shauna. Amazing woman. She lives up in Vancouver. And she says she wants $50,000 in savings, and she doesn't have it right now.
Yep.
And I said, okay, what are the feelings that you think you'd get from having $50,000 in savings? And she says, well, she thinks she would feel safe and secure and confident and comfortable. And so if we can get clear, if we can first of all admit to ourselves, people like to over spiritualize things, and they say money's greedy or evil or whatever. Like, good luck making it if that's your relationship with it. But
Right.
and you probably wouldn't have listened this far into the podcast if you weren't at least a little bit interested in making money, because we're talking about today.
Yeah.
But if you can actually realize that because of the world that we were born into, there's a financial system in place, and there's an amount of money that does equate to abundance. The word abundance to everybody is subjective. What I think of abundance is different than, like, I think of abundance. The other day I was like, I wanted to buy a foil, right? And a foil's $4,000
Yep.
to buy a brand new foil setup. And so I looked at my accounts, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I didn't like blink at all. I just paid for the foil, and now I have the foil. So for me, abundance can be categorized as I can buy all the toys that I want to buy, right? A jet ski and the foil and the surfboards, the sauna, all that kind of stuff, to me feels like abundance.
Yeah.
And my new level of abundance that's coming is like, actually, I want to be able to buy any property that I want to buy, right? And at this exact second, I can't just go out and be like, I'll take that beachfront property. I'll take that ranch in Montana. I'm not at that level of abundance yet.
Right.
And so which I want to create. And so what's important for us, I think, to do is, like, if you and your agency, what you're saying is you want to have an abundance of time with an abundance of people that you love.
Yes.
And what's going to fuel that more than anything else is money.
Right.
Is and how long it takes you to make the money, et cetera. So if you were to break down, Jonathan, how much time do you want to spend with your loved ones on a weekly basis? And tell me that. How much time do you want to spend with them?
I would love at least like 2 or 3 nights of like a solid chunk of like 4 hours of just like either one-on-one time with someone, or just like group hangs, surfing, having good conversation.
Yep.
I need my alone time too, but
Perfect. So
yeah, something like that.
yeah. So 3 nights of 4 hours each of just solid hang time, fun times. And then you got to think, okay, do you want to be hanging out in a shack down by the river? Or do you want to live out of a van? You could also live out of a sedan car, whatever you want. Or do you want to be living in a house to hang out with these people?
House would be great. But I'm also down to go
And how big of
backpacking,
a-
go surfing, let nature do its thing.
Sure. I mean, where you live, though.
Yeah, would love to have a house
Where
that
you sleep at night.
facilitates that super well. Definitely.
Cool. And how big of a house is that?
Great question. I've never thought about this, to be honest.
That's why we're doing the exercise. No one has, and Jonathan, we're doing this as like an exercise because most people that are listening to this have never done this either.
Yeah.
And it's the thing that's stopping them from making money, because they're making money because they think they have to,
Right.
not as a mechanism to achieve the freedom and the feelings that they want to feel.
Yep.
So just shoot from the hip. How big of a house? How many bedrooms?
Yeah, I would think a 4 or 5 bedroom house that makes it really easy to host people, have an office, have a bunch of space. 4 or 5
Perfect.
bedrooms. Sounds great.
Love it. Cool. Let's get specific. Is it 4 or is it 5?
Let's go 5.
5 bedrooms. Where do you want it to be?
Colorado or California?
Is it Colorado or California?
Colorado, for me.
Perfect. Cool. And how much does a 5-bedroom house in the area that you want to live in Colorado cost?
Probably gonna say close to 2 million. 1.5.
Cool. 2 million. Okay, so let's call it 2 million for a nice one. And so 2 million, and interest rates right now are what, like 6% or 7% or something like that?
Slowly dropping, it sounds
So,
like,
and if
but
you-
yeah.
Nice. Okay, let's call it 6%.
Yeah.
And if you put down a down payment, I don't know if you get help from anyone, or who knows where your down payment comes from. If you want to save up a down payment for that, I don't know what programs you're available. I don't know what first-time buyer stuff is like in the States. I'm from
Sure.
Canada. But maybe you put down 10%. Let's call it 10 or 20%.
200.
So you put down 10%, you got to save up 200 grand. And so you got a $1.8 million mortgage left on it, 6% interest. You're looking at, I don't know, $11,000 a month, something like that,
Yep.
right? In a payment. So what you would love is to be able to pay $11,000 in mortgage, $200,000 in cash, and there's probably you want to have food and all that kind of stuff. So even if you just added those things up, you don't have to get crazy on budgets or anything like that, but like just roughly add those things up, what that lifestyle costs that you would love.
Yep.
So you got 11 grand plus call it $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month for food. I don't know what you eat. And so let's call it 2. So now we're at 13,000. You probably want to drive a nice car. Like my Tesla, it has a really good interest rate. So I didn't buy it cash. I bought it on a financing plan. It's like 5% interest, which technically is like free money based on where inflation is at. So that I think my payment on that is $800 a month. So let's call it 1,000 because you want to buy a Porsche or something. And so you're at like, what are we at? 13, 14, call it $15,000 a month in living expenses.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
So if you have 15 grand after tax income to spend on living expenses, we're not talking about like write-offs for your mortgage and stuff. That's a bit too detailed for this conversation. So if it's 15 grand a month that you want to make after taxes for living expenses, plus you want to put aside a good amount to live, in a perfect world, you'd be making 30 grand a month. $30,000 a month after tax for you is ideal.
Yep.
Because you can spend half on your living expenses, and then you can spend 10% on investments, 10% on fun, 10% on education, 10% on give, and 10% on long term, which is how I think anyone's finances should be broken down. 50% of your money that you make post-tax, it goes to the necessities, rent, food, gas, insurance, that kind of thing.
Yep.
The other 50% gets broken up to 10% fun, 10% education, 10% long term, 10% charity, 10% investments.
Great.
Okay. So if you're making 30K a month clear, then you're going to look at what the tax rate is, call it 25% taxes, $30,000 divided by 0.75. So yep. So 40 grand. So if you're making $40,000 a month before taxes, you can live the exact life that you want to live.
42?
40,000
okay.
even.
Okay, great.
So that number, first of all, so anyone listening to this, get that number. What is the number that you want to make, after tax to be able to support your lifestyle, be able to invest and all that kind of stuff. So live on 50% of your income. So what is that number? So that you need to live on, double it so that you can, you get the point. So Jonathan's is $30,000 after tax, means he has to make $40,000 before tax. Then your agency, the goal is not to have a profitable agency. Your goal is to have an agency. I don't know what your split is with your business partner. Let's say it's 50-50. I don't think it is, but let's say it's 50-50. Then your business needs to kick out $80,000 a month in profit.
Yep.
So you get 40, he gets 40, you make your 30, you get your house, etc. That becomes mind-blowingly, exponentially, insanely more motivating to have a thriving agency that profits 80 grand a month, which means you're doing $1 million a year in revenue, right? Because $83,333 a month is $1 million in revenue.
Yep.
So then you break it down, then everything gets really exciting. And feel free to interrupt, but this is where I really like to geek out.
I'm listening.
Okay, so then we break it down. Okay, 80 grand profit. So what's the expenses of the company? Let's say it's $20,000 in expenses because you guys don't run ads or anything like that. So let's call it 20 grand a month. So you need to make 100 grand a month. To make $100,000 a month at your agency, that's when you come up with, okay, let's say our average package is $5,000. I need to sell 20 of those packages per month to make 100 grand, to make 80 grand in profit. You get the point.
Yep.
Right? When it's that clear, it gets so insanely motivating to get really, really good at getting people the result that they want to get. Price it accordingly at 5,000 or 10,000 or whatever. And that's when things get interesting. It's like, oh, if we priced it at 10 grand, we'd only have to make 10 sales. So is there other things that we can add to our offer to make it worth 10 grand? If we priced it at 20 grand, we'd only have to make 5 sales a month.
Right.
If we priced it at 50 grand, we only have to make 2 sales a month. And then all your decisions in your business become exponentially more exciting because they're all a pathway to you having a 5-bedroom house in Colorado and hanging out 3 nights a week for 4 hours a time with all of your friends with an abundance of money to save and invest, etc.
Right. And so until you have that emotional connection of this life and experience I want to have with like this work that needs to be done, won't happen. It's
not going to happen.
It's a good word.
Because people think that they're at odds. They think that going for money is fighting against their time with their family. As soon as those things are at odds, the subconscious mind hates inner conflict, hates it. And your enjoyment is always going to beat out the grind.
Yep.
The procrastination sets in. The reason procrastination happens is because people don't think that the thing they're doing actually leads to the thing that they want.
Mm-hmm.
They think that the thing they're doing is a must. And the must, that's when people burn out, they run out of energy, etc. But if you got up every day and you're like, oh my God, if I make 2 sales today, we hit our goal, I'm buying that house.
Yeah.
And when I make these sales, I got Monday and Thursday and Friday where just 4 hours each of those nights I'm just hanging out with my friends, and I'm so present with them because I'm not worried about money.
Yep. You have this story, Taylor, of writing down on a piece of paper that you kept in like your drawer somewhere, this amount of money that you wanted to make and the date that you would make it by and how you would feel when you got it. I think you call that, there's an acronym that you use for like this method. It's like Clear Future something.
Oh yeah. Clear Future Life.
Clear Future Life.
CFL.
Yeah, and that you kind of, I've heard you share that story as like a really transformational year of your life where you all of a sudden you saw that like you could almost attract this thing to yourself by believing in it for yourself and by like really spending time with that goal and being intimate with it. I'd love to know more, just like a little bit deeper into that story of like, how did you, like, I think you probably read that book and decided to do it from the book, but what made you like trust that would work or that was going to be worth your time? Because even the commitment of like every morning, every evening, like that's a lot to commit to. And like what in you trusted that to take it up on that offer?
I mean, I didn't really have a choice, I barely graduated high school. There's no way I was going to go to college. I was a firefighter. I felt really stuck. I felt really capped at what I could make. But I saw I'm a realist enough to know I saw a bunch of people that didn't seem that smart that were making a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so I thought, man, what are they doing that I'm not doing? There's got to be something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, I mean, he had done all the research. He went and talked to 500 of the wealthiest people on the planet and distilled down what they did into a teachable format.
Yep.
And I can already hear, dude, I can hear in the listeners, I've read that. It was okay. No, you haven't fucking read it. But Garrett, I'm being 100% honest. No, you haven't. If you skimmed the words, if the words have gone into your brain and you close the book, you haven't read it. To fully read that book means to do everything it says to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you have not read Think and Grow Rich. And I guarantee there's not even one person on this planet, I'm fucking calling you out, the listeners, guaranteed you haven't done the stuff that it says in that book. 100%. I'm 100% certain. Why? Because I've never met anyone that read that book and actually did what it said for a meaningful amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
I did what that said for a year straight, and for the next 20 years since then too. Is like clear on what the vision statement. I have read Think and Grow Rich. What's your fucking vision statement? Did you read it out loud this morning with feeling like it says? No, you didn't. Did you read it out loud last night before bed? Nope, you didn't. Why? Because you didn't believe it enough, or you're lazy, or you're procrastinated, or because you don't think that it's actually worth the time. And even though the time only takes a minute or 2 minutes before bed or when you wake up.
Yep.
The people that have read Think and Grow Rich are like, I read that thing and I was like, I'm taking this to be the Bible. This is the truth. This is what I'm doing. So I read the thing out loud every morning, every night for an entire year. So 730 times. I remember it was back in the day when I used to drink alcohol, and I was 23 or 24 or 25 or something like that. 24, I think, when I was reading that book or reading my vision statement out loud, and 23 when I first read the book. And I'd get home after the bar at 2 a.m. I'd get into bed, head spinning. Just like, wow, I drank a lot that night. And be like, oh yeah, vision statement. And I would get up out of bed. And if, let's say I'd been lucky enough to have a lovely lady with me or something like that night when I was 24, I would go in the bathroom and I would turn the shower on so that she couldn't hear me. And I'd read the vision statement out loud with feeling, drunker than a skunk, and do it anyways.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about, like the follow through. Dude, I'm just being open. 99.99999% of people just don't have that follow through.
Yeah.
And they make the excuse is that what matters is that moment when your head hits the pillow and you remember, oh yeah, the vision statement, that dialogue right there is what separates really successful people from average, lazy, procrastinating, victim mindset people. The dialogue is the same in both heads. oh, I don't need to read it. It's the fucking same. I don't need to read it. I'll read it tomorrow morning. I'll read it twice tomorrow. I'll read it 10 times tomorrow to make up for it. It doesn't make up for it. And it actually teaches your mind that you don't follow through on shit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just being wide. I don't know who I'm yelling at right now, but it's like, no, it's not the same. What the difference is, the successful person gets the fuck up and reads it.
Mm-hmm.
The unsuccessful person buys into the lazy ass in their mind. Everyone's got the lazy. I have it every morning. I wake up. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go do 600 reps on my gym outside. I just worked out yesterday. My knees are a bit sore. Whatever. The only difference is the successful person just fucking does it anyways.
Right. Yeah. That's good, Taylor. I have found myself if I'm being honest, I struggle with inconsistency, and throughout my life, it's been something that I've struggled to solve for. I ran track and cross country, and I've always enjoyed staying fit and trying to get better at things. And I've always been like a fairly motivated person, but when it comes to like just grinding it, like I'm a big like spurts guy where like I'll go do like, I'll get really excited about running and I'll go run my brains out for like a month and then I'll just trail off. And I think I shared this with you the other day. Something I've encountered with that is like you talked about that moment where you let yourself down one time. You're laying down in bed, you're about to go to sleep, and you're like, I should read the vision statement. And you don't. You wake up the next day, and all of a sudden, shame is attached to that, right? And then it's like becomes this downward spiral. And so, I've just found for me, like a lot of times, I need to just figure out how to get over this like shame ball that I'm stuck in. Of like, it's been a few days since I've done the thing that I know I'm supposed to do. And I'm sure that's how a lot of people are too, where you're almost like managing your emotions to figure out like what part of me doesn't feel like loved or safe right now. Because I honestly think that a lot of like reading a vision statement is such a easy, simple thing. It's not like it's ever a time thing. It's almost like, I think for me, and I think a lot of other people, you hit this emotional barrier of like, I've already failed once. And that becomes this like freeze response. So anyway, I'm curious, like, I don't know if you've ever encountered parts of your life where you encounter that freeze response, or if that's just not really hardwired into your brain. I'm sure you encounter a lot of people who are stuck in that as well. And I would just be curious to know, like, what things have you found to be helpful to get someone unstuck in that, and also to switch them from being chronically inconsistent, like I am, into just this mode of like getting through when they need to persevere. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying everyone needs to be David Goggins. Stay hard. And like you get up and if you don't do it, you're a bitch. Maybe it sounded like I was coming off at that before. I'm genuinely not saying that. The point of this is I was hanging out with Wim Hof in Holland. Okay.
Sick.
Hanging out with Wim Hof at his place, and his baby mama, who I think that child would now be like 5 or 6 or something like that. She's driving me to the train station, and we were talking about something about Wim. Obviously, he's a pretty magnetic character.
Yeah.
And she goes, Taylor, do you know why Wim sets these huge goals, like world records and all that kind of stuff, or Guinness Book records and stuff like that? And I'm like, no, why? Why? And she goes, he does it so that it will uproot the fear that still exists in his system so that he can clear it. Without a huge goal, without something that you're working toward that's going to stretch you in ways you've never been stretched before, the fear and all those procrastination things and the things that bring up the shame for people, they're not going to come up.
Right.
Because you're not trying for anything.
Right.
So that's why he sets these massive. This is Wim Hof. I think he holds like 26 or 27 Guinness Book of World Record things.
Yeah, he's an animal.
The guy's a beast. Marathon in Antarctica, climbed Everest in a pair of board shorts, no shoes.
So sick.
Like a beast mode, right?
Yeah.
So that's why he sets these things. So if you set an amazing goal to run a marathon and then you find yourself dwindling off at some point, it doesn't mean you're a failure. It doesn't mean anything. All it means is like, oh, there's some work that needs to be done for procrastination for me.
Yep.
There's some work that I can get better. And that's like, I honestly think that's the fountain of youth, is the radical honesty of what we can improve upon and going out and consciously improving it, not just for our own benefit, but for the benefit of our marriage, because you're married, our marriage, or our relationships with our friends. Imagine like when you start showing up for yourself a bunch and you're proud of yourself for showing up for yourself, you just start showing up for people.
Yep.
You just start showing up for people way more.
Yep.
You don't show up for yourself. You can always tell if someone is not showing up for you, right, that you think should show up for you, and maybe it's in your kind of friendship agreements that you guys show up for each other, has nothing to do with you. Has to do with the fact that they don't show up for themselves. They're inconsistent with themselves.
Yep.
They say that if you really want something done, give the task to a busy person. You ever heard that?
No.
It's because the reason someone's busy is they get shit done. The people that have all the time in the world on their hands, they have all the time in the world on their hands because they procrastinate and they don't actually do anything.
Yep.
Right? And I've got people in my life that got tons of time. I would never give them a task to do. I would give the task to Jordan. I give the task to Jordan, my business partner, who's our CEO.
Yeah.
He's doing more stuff than anyone I know.
Yeah.
But I guarantee if I give him a task, he'll get it done.
Wild.
Because that's just the kind of person that he is. And so again, the whole shame thing, that's normal, dude. There's so many things. We could get stuck in a vice. We could get stuck in whatever. Shame comes up. Totally normal. It's a normal human emotion.
Yep.
And ideally, just reconcile with yourself. New commitment. Make the commitment. Don't do the whole like New Year's resolution thing of putting, I'm going to do this for the next year.
Right.
And then you screw up once and you've screwed up the year.
Right.
Start small. For the next 5 days, for the next 3 days, I'm going to do this vision statement every morning and every night, just for 3 days. See how it feels. And then you recommit. Like I did no social media in September. October 1st rolled around. I was like, dude, I'm doing that for another month. That was amazing.
That's sick.
It was really hard to get through the first 3-4 days.
Yeah.
Right. But it was just a month. And I have a feeling it's going to spiral into like no social media at all.
Yeah. Good for you. It's much
in
better.
my life at some point. But
yeah. Yeah. That'll be an advantage. Hey, I also want to be respectful of your time, and we're kind of wrapping up here. So Taylor, I just want to say thanks again for being here. It's a huge honor to have you. And I don't know if you can tell, but I feel like this has been really transformational and just helpful for me. So thanks for making it personal to me and not just speaking vaguely to the ether.
yeah.
But yeah, it's felt really, really meaningful. So thank you.
You're so welcome. It's ether? I thought it was ether. Is that a Canadian thing?
I don't know. Maybe it's just a me thing. I'll have to fact check myself.
Maybe you're just, no, you're the word guy. I would trust you over me any day. What I was going to say, Jonathan, is like what I've said to you before. You have all the raw talent. You have all the energy. You have everything, right? And I'm sure there's a whole bunch of people that have everything as well. And I think is back to the beginning of this podcast is like the only thing that you're going to be a very successful person. You're already successful, and you're going to just continue to be more successful. And if you're listening to what Jonathan does different than other people, is like he's willing to bash his head against a wall. I think that's the key to it. I'm not sitting here like, oh, I've made it at all. I just know, dude, I bashed my head against the walls so much yesterday, trying to figure something out that's brand new.
Yeah.
And if we can keep doing that, man, it just keeps us humble and blah blah blah. And I'll get off my soapbox and I'll say thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it, Taylor. We'll see you soon.